I never imagined that my simple act of kindness would lead to an unbelievable fortune. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started as an ordinary Tuesday, or so I thought. The sun was shining, painting the sidewalks gold. I was walking through the park, lost in my mind. The smell of blooming flowers filled the air, sweet and intoxicating. I remember the warmth on my skin like a comforting hug. Then I saw her. A little girl, no more than 6, sitting on a bench with tears streaming down her cheeks. Her hands trembled, gripping a worn-out teddy bear. It was ragged, one button missing, but she held onto it like it was a treasure. My heart clenched. I had to help her. I approached slowly, my palms sweaty. "Hey there," I said softly, crouching down to her level. She looked up, surprise in her wide eyes. I offered her a smile, hoping it would bridge the gap of sadness. "What's wrong?" I asked. She pointed to the ground. A shiny coin lay there, glimmering in the sunlight. Felt like magic. I picked it up and handed it to her. "Here, it's for you." Her face lit up, a spark in her dark eyes. The moment her tiny fingers brushed against mine, I felt a jolt of energy, a strange warmth. She smiled, a light so bright it could chase away the darkest clouds. But as soon as I turned to leave, I noticed something unusual. A man was watching us from across the park. His face was obscured by shadows, but I felt his gaze piercing through me. Something was off. My stomach twisted. The air shifted, thick with unease. The girl's laughter echoed behind me, but my heart raced for another reason. I stumbled away, glancing back one last time. The man had vanished. Days passed and I tried to shake it off. Life continued its usual rhythm. But then letters started arriving. They were addressed to me, but not from anyone I knew. Just simple envelopes, heavy with mystery. Each one contained strange symbols and riddles, hinting at secrets buried deep. I couldn't make sense of them, but they felt like a thread pulling me closer to something unseen. Something powerful. On a particularly rainy evening, I sat at my kitchen table, the dim light barely illuminating the chaos of papers scattered before me. My heart raced with an unshakable fear. I flipped through the pages again and again, searching for a clue, a path forward. Then I found it. One of the letters spoke of a treasure hidden in plain sight, tied to the act of kindness I had shown that day. Where? Why? I couldn't breathe. My heart pounded loud against my chest. The world outside felt distant, the rain drumming a frantic rhythm against the window. Was it possible? Could this all be connected? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days grew heavier with each passing moment, a suffocating shroud of anticipation woven tightly around my chest. I couldn't shake the feeling that the letters were just the beginning, a prelude to something I was too scared to fully comprehend. The glow of the streetlights flickered through the rain-streaked window, casting ghostly shadows that danced across the cluttered table. As I struggled to unravel the riddles, my phone rang, breaking the tension. It was Clara, my closest friend. "Hey, I just wanted to check in. You've been awfully quiet." Her voice was a balm, yet I felt the need to guard the turmoil swirling inside me. "I am fine," I lied, forcing a smile that she couldn't see. "Just a lot on my mind." "Talk to me," she urged gently. There was a sincerity in her tone that made my heart ache. Clara had always been my anchor, but how could I explain this? How could I burden her with the weight of these letters, of this strange kind of quest that seemed to beckon me from the shadows? I hesitated, caught in a web of uncertainty. "It's just work stress. You know how it is." "Right," she replied, but I could hear her disappointment. "I'll come over this weekend. We can have a movie night, get your mind off things." "Sure," I replied, grateful for her kindness yet increasingly aware of how isolated I felt. The softness of her voice clung to me like warmth on a chilly night. Yet the tension within me would not ease as night fell and rain continued to fall lightly against the roof. I returned to the letters. One of them had a strange drawing, A map of sorts, swirling lines tangled with symbols that made no sense except for one circle that glimmered with the hint of something profound. It was haunting, tinged with urgency, and I felt the pull almost as poignantly as I had felt the girl's small hand in mine. Suddenly, I felt the tightening within me shift to something electric, a flicker of hope igniting in the face of my confusion. What if this journey was meant to lead me to more than a treasure? What if it was a chance to discover parts of myself I had long buried deep beneath layers of routine, responsibility, and fear? Still, doubt crept in as quickly as optimism. I felt foolish for even considering the idea. But that night, I decided I would follow where the map indicated first thing in the morning. Hand shaking, I placed the letter back onto the table and tucked it beneath a stack of others. Sleep eluded me, and I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the rain now a soft lullaby that soon coaxed me to a restless sleep. When the first light of dawn filtered through the window, I awoke with purpose. A washed-out map, a promise of treasure. I felt simultaneously revved up and terrified. Clutching the letter tightly in my palm, I ventured into the park, each step hospital to a beating heart riddled with uncertainty and hope. The air was crisp, and the delicate scent of earth after rain enveloped me. The place felt transformed under morning light, yet my eyes scanned every corner, searching for the man who had watched that day, wondering if he would emerge again. I could sense an unseen duality, a dance between good and evil, between potential and peril. I found myself at the same bench where I had met the little girl. Echoes of laughter ghosted through my mind, but I felt utterly alone. I unraveled the paper, tracing my finger over the swirling lines. What did it mean? Then I saw it. The map indicated a pathway that led deeper into the park, away from the benches and benches, into an area dense with trees. As I ventured forward, the trees loomed overhead, casting shadows that swayed in the light breeze. Each step felt like a leap of faith, an acceptance of the unknown. My heart raced, caught between resolve and dread. What lay ahead? Suddenly, a sudden rustle from beyond the trees sent a jolt of fear through me, and I froze. Out from behind the thick trunks of a willow, a figure stepped forward. My breath hitched when I recognized the face, a stark twist of fate. A ghost from my past that I thought I would never see again. Lie? I whispered, disbelief washing over me as the name escaped my lips like a secret meant for only the winds. The boy I once knew, the one whose shadows still lingered in my memories, stared back at me with an enigmatic smile. Before I could process what this meant or how he had found me, he stepped closer, and with a sudden piercing gaze murmured, "I think you're in over your head." My heart sank. What had I gotten myself into? The air thickened around us, a tense silence amplifying the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. Ella's presence was both a comfort and a harbinger of chaos, reminding me of the innocence we once shared, and the years that had twisted our lives apart. His smile, although welcoming, bore an edge that sent shivers down my spine. "Eli," I repeated, searching for something familiar in his eyes, something that could dispel the unease coiling in my stomach. Memories of laughter and secrets shared by the old oak tree bubbled to the surface, a simpler time when life felt certain and bright. But those memories faded quickly, chased away by the shadows that hung between us. He shifted his weight, his expression softening, yet there was an air of caution about him. "Yeah, it's me. It's been a long time." Emotion crept between the lines of his voice, a mixture of nostalgia and something heavier, darker. "Why are you here?" My heart raced, each beat echoing in my ears. The map lingered in my hand, a physical reminder of the journey that had brought me to this moment. I wondered if Eli was somehow linked to the letters, if he knew what I was searching for. "Let's just say I've been keeping an eye on things." He glanced over his shoulder, as if wary of unseen eyes watching us. "I never thought you'd actually come here." Not after. A shadow passed over his face at the mention of our shared past, and I could feel the raw tension that had developed in the silence. "Not after what?" I prompted, willing myself to confront this shifting tide of emotions. His gaze met mine, and for a fleeting moment, the walls he had built around himself seemed to falter. "Not after what happened between us. I didn't want to drag you back into any complications." Complications? The word hung in the air, heavy with unspoken truths. There was so much I wanted to ask him, yet the fear of what lay unspoken kept me silent. Eli stepped closer, the warm light filtering through the leaves illuminating the depths of his eyes. "You shouldn't be here. Not with those letters, not with this map. It's dangerous that I in that moment. My doubts collided with a sharp sense of clarity. Something inside me stirred. A voice whispering that perhaps my journey had a purpose beyond the treasurite was about confronting the past, about unearthing truths long buried. I have to know what it means, I insisted, my voice steadier than I felt. I can't just walk away. There are things I need to uncover. I can't keep pretending everything is fine. His expression softened for a moment, but then hardened again. You don't understand. The deeper you dig, the harder it will hit you. And my heart raced, driven by adrenaline mixed with a painful reminder of our shared history, a past filled with laughter, tears, and the unexpected rupture that had left us both incomplete. What do you know? I pressed, almost desperate. He took a step back, the tension building like static electricity in the air. I know enough to tell you that some treasures are meant to be left buried. You think you're searching for something real, but what if it brings you back to pain? A crushing weight settled in my stomach. Pain had marked my life like ink on a page, each chapter filled with loss and longing. And yet, the idea of returning to a life of numbness seemed unbearable. I won't shy away from pain. I need to understand. Eli shook his head, his jaw clenching. Then you're going to need more than just courage to face this. Before I could question him further, an unexpected movement in the distance caught my eye. A flicker of color. A child's laughter peeking through the double-edged barriers that separated us from joy and sorrow. I turned, my heart skipping a beat at the sight of a little girl playing with a kite, her laughter filling the charged air like a bomb. Look, I stammered, she's just like, but Ellis' expression darkened, and he pulled back as if the scene held a threat. No, not now. We can't let her get involved. Confusion flooded my mind. What are you talking about? She's innocent. We can't. I'm sorry, he said abruptly, turning away from me. You're going to get yourself hurt. His voice cracked, revealing the boy I once knew, a fragility hidden beneath layers of bravado. He hesitated, glancing back one last time, and for a brief moment, I saw the possibility of understanding in his eyes. Please, Eli, I started, but he was already gone, melting into the shadows of the trees. My heart raced, panic rising as I watched him disappear. The laughter of the little girl faded into a haunting echo, leaving me standing alone, clutching the map tightly in my hands, a world of secrets unfolding before me, and the wind carrying the scent of something bittersweet, a promise of adventure intertwined with foreboding. I knew now that there was more at stake than my search for meaning. The threads of my life were woven together with Eli's, revealing a tapestry rich with colors of love, loss, and the lingering question of what was really hidden beneath the surface. With Eli gone and a storm brewing in my soul, I turned back toward the park, bracing myself for the uncertainties ahead. I was determined to face whatever awaited me, but a gripping dread took hold as I wondered if I could unravel the truth without losing myself in the process. The letters, the map, and now Eli, would I find what I was seeking? Or was there darkness waiting to engulf me? As I took a step forward, I felt the weight of a new revelation tumbling toward me, terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. The sunlight dappled through the leaves as I wandered deeper into the park, feeling the whispers of the trees echoing Eli's warning in my mind. Each step felt heavy, burdened by the weight of his absence and the ambiguity left in his wake. I had come to find clarity, but uncertainty swirled around me like autumn leaves caught in a whirlwind. Rounding a corner, I found myself near a weathered park bench, its surface rough with age. I hesitated as I noticed the little girl from earlier, her kite dancing in the air with wild abandon. Despite my own turmoil, the sight of her innocent joy was a small light cutting through the fog of my thoughts. Maybe Eli was right, maybe involvement would only lead to unforeseen complications. Yet in that very moment I felt drawn to her, compelled to interact, a flicker of kindness igniting in my heart. Hi there, I said, taking a tentative step forward. She turned, her bright eyes sparkling with mischief. Do you want to help me fly my kite? She asked, her voice a melody that seemed to erase my worry for a moment. I smiled despite myself. Sure, I'd love to help. We spent several minutes chasing after her kite, laughter weaving a thread of joy through the somber fabric of my day. It was refreshing, a reminder that even amid chaos, moments of pure happiness could exist. I caught the kite when it dipped low, handing the string back to her with a grin. There was magic in those fleeting moments that felt almost like a salve, a gentle nudge whispering that perhaps not all was lost in my quest. Thank you, she gushed, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Kites are never as fun alone as she ran. Her laughter faded into the rustling leaves, but I lingered, soaking in the warmth of the connection. Just as I turned to leave, she called out to me, her small hand waving in the air. "Hey, what's your name?" "Riley," I replied, the name feeling strange yet comforting. "What's yours?" "Ella. Like the princess," she announced proudly, her innocence enveloping me like a protective aura. "Nice to meet you, Princess Ella," I said, chuckling at the thought, but as I walked away, the moment began to feel like a cruel reminder of everything I was unsure of. My heart sank as I recalled Ella's words, the fear that my presence might inadvertently put her in danger. I suddenly felt a pang of loss for my own innocence, for the carefree days that had once defined who I was. With a sigh, I made my way to a secluded bench, the map still nestled tightly in my grip. I forced myself to open it, letting the rusted metal of my resolve click into place. Memories surged as I traced the lines, each twist and turn leading me further down a path I wasn't sure I was ready to follow. What if Eli's warnings were true and the truth was more painful than I could bear? As I contemplated this, an older man approached, his hair tousled and a thick coat draped around his shoulders. He had a comforting aura, akin to a forgotten memory, someone from my past perhaps, or merely a stranger with kindness in his eyes. "You look troubled, my friend," he said, settling onto the bench beside me. "What weighs so heavily on your heart?" The unexpected presence of a stranger stirred something in me, a desire to share, a need to unburden. I hesitated, but the sincerity in his gaze encouraged me to speak. "I'm trying to understand my past. There are things I need to uncover, but I'm scared of what I might find." He nodded knowingly, a gentle smile flickering on his lips. "Sometimes the scariest journeys lead us to beautiful discoveries. Trust yourself to navigate the shadows and good things will follow." His words, though simple, resonated within me. Perhaps this was the glimmer of hope I needed, a reminder that even amid chaos, kindness and understanding could lead to something profound. Just as I began to feel a spark of confidence igniting within me, a rumble of thunder echoed overhead, startling me. Dark clouds rolled in, casting a shadow over our moment. I looked up, anxiety spilling over as I felt a rush of urgency. And then, as if triggered by the storm, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Pulled it out, my heart racing as I saw the name flashing on the screen. An unexpected call from Eli. "Hello?" I answered, my voice betraying the anxiety that gripped me. "Riley, listen carefully." Eli's voice was tight, almost frantic. "You need to get away from that park. Now." "Why? What's happening?" I felt the panic rising within, and the urgency in his tone shoved a cold finger down my spine. "There's something you need to know. Something about the letters and the people looking for you. It's dangerous. I can't explain everything right now, but trust me, you have to leave." Before I could fully process his words, the line went dead, leaving me holding the phone, a whirlwind of questions swirling in my mind. My heart hammered in my chest, each pulse echoing the reality that something darker was at play. I looked at the man beside me, who was now watching me with concern, as the first drops of rain began to fall. In that electrifying moment, I faced a choice: the innocence of staying with Ella and discovering the happiness found in small moments, or the perilous path set before me by Eli, filled with secrets and shadows. As the rain began to pour heavier, each drop becoming a whisper of urgency in my ear, I made a decision. I would find Eli. Understanding the darkness might be my only chance at finding light. But as I stood, a flash of light broke over the horizon, illuminating the park with an ominous glow. In the distance, silhouetted by the storm, figures began to emerge from the shadows, their intentions unclear yet undeniably threatening. I felt a chill creep up my spine. Whatever lay ahead, I was no longer just a seeker of truth. I was now a target. And somehow, in the storm and chaos, I realized I was not just searching for treasures of the past, I was fighting to protect the fragile threads of my future. The rain fell like a curtain, drenching everything in its path and washing away the last remnants of sunlight. I pressed the phone against my ear, muttering Eli's name as if calling him back from the void that had consumed him. Panic clawed at my chest, but I forced myself to breathe. The man sitting beside me still watched, his brow furrowed but his expression calm. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. I hesitated, considering the words I might share, but the confusion swirled like the storm clouds above. Instead, I gave a slight nod and found my voice. I need to go, sometimes running seems the only option, he mused, a knowing look in his eyes. But remember, running away from something also means running to something. You should be careful where your feet take you. His words struck me hard. I was already running whether I wanted to or not, and there was no telling what I'd find on the other side. I glanced back toward the path leading out of the park, my thoughts flickering to Ella, that mischievous little girl with her kite who had reminded me what joy felt like. The idea of leaving her behind gnawed at me, but I couldn't risk dragging her into whatever danger loomed just beyond the shadows. I have to go, I repeated, my voice stronger this time, and I stood, drenched, my heart racing with uncertainty. Before I could take a step, the old man grabbed my wrist gently. Wait, just promise me one thing. What? I asked, my heart pounding as I turned back to him. Whatever you find in the darkness, don't lose sight of the light, he said, his voice steady, holding a wisdom that felt profound even as the storm raged around us. He let go, and I nodded, though I wasn't entirely sure I understood what he meant with that. I turned and began my hasty exit from the park. My feet splashed through puddles, urgency pushing me forward, the distinct sense of being pursued gnawing at my thoughts. Each step felt heavy as I resisted the urge to look back, knowing every glance would drag me into lingering dread. Yet, I couldn't shake the worry that Ella might be caught in some twisted fate just because I had reached out to her. As I approached the park entrance, a figure emerged from the downpour, a tall shape dressed in dark clothing, standing beneath the awning of a nearby coffee shop. It was impossible to see any defining features in the dim light, but something about the figure's stillness tugged at my instincts. A moment of recognition flared Eli's silhouette, familiar yet unsteady beneath the barrage of rain. Riley, he called, stepping into the rain as I approached, urgency lining his expression. I'm so glad you came. We need to talk about everything, there's so much at stake. Why didn't you say more on the phone? I shot back, my voice tinged with frustration, the anxiety coursing through the air thickening like smoke. What's happening? Who are those people? Eli glanced over his shoulder, and dread flickered across his face. We don't have time. They're close, and if they find you before he could finish, a piercing scream sliced through the noise of the storm, echoing from the direction I had just come from. My heart sank as I recognized the small, unmistakable voice. Ella! I shouted instinctively, my legs moving before I could process my own decision. I turned back toward the park, fear propelling me forward, but Eli caught my arm. Riley, stop! He pleaded. You can't go back. It's too dangerous. Ella is in trouble. I cried, my breaths growing ragged as adrenaline flooded my veins. The little girl's laughter had brought light into my darkened world. I couldn't abandon her now. Listen to me. Eli's voice rose above the storm, resonating with the urgency of a man who had already seen too much. You're putting yourself, but I tore free from his grasp, dashing toward the sound of distress. The rain whipped around me, blurring my vision, fueling the fire of my resolve. Each footfall felt charged with purpose even as doubt clawed at my mind. As I neared the park's edge, I saw a group of figures gathered in the clearing, their heads turned toward something. I hesitated, my heart racing, as I tried to gauge the scene, but before I could piece together the unfolding chaos, a familiar figure dashed out from the thicket toward the front edge of the pond. Ella, her kite dragging helplessly behind her, eyes wide with fright. Help! She shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks as she wheeled around desperately. Ella! I screamed, frantic as I propelled myself forward, but the storm roared louder, cloaking my voice in its ominous rage. Just as I reached the edge of the gathering, a man stepped between me and Ella, no longer just a silhouette but a shadow that darkened the very air around us. Riley, stay back. Ella's voice sliced through the cacophony, but terror gripped my soul as the man turned, revealing a familiar face. It was someone from my past, someone whose identity held layers I hadn't yet begun to unravel. My heart stuttered as loyalty, fear, and confusion swirled together, shattering the fragile hope I'd held onto just moments ago. Hello, Riley, the man said, a cruel smile tugging at his lips, as darkness loomed ever closer. The world around me froze as I stared into the eyes of a man who had woven himself into the very fabric of my pasta, fabric I thought I'd long since cast aside. His smirk was a serpent's, slick and deceptive, and I felt my heart pound furiously in my chest, a desperate call to action beneath layers of dread. Lucas, I breathed, recognizing the edges of betrayal that cut deep into my memories. When had he slithered back into my life, and how had he become a specter in this moment? He took a step forward, his friends shifting with him, their focus turning from Ella to me like hungry wolves catching the scent of fear. It's been a while. You've really outdone yourself, haven't you? Making friends in strange places. A little girl caught in the rain, it's almost poetic. The elegant cruelty in his voice twisted something inside me. I glanced desperately toward Ella, who stood frozen, the forgotten kite swirling about her legs like the remnants of her innocence. Panic bubbled up within me, choking my attempts to breathe as I felt Lucas' gaze shift from mockery to intent. Ella! I shouted, forcing my voice above the thunder. Come here. It's okay. Riley, you have to run. Eli's voice cut through the chaos again, raw with urgency, but there was no way I was leaving her behind. The storm intensified, rain hammering down in merciless sheets. I darted forward, an impulsive blur of arms and heartbeats, but Lucas' men stepped closer, forming a barrier between me and the little girl whose trust one had wanted to protect. Lucas raised a hand, and the group suddenly stilled. Oh, don't be hasty, he taunted, his eyes lit with a dangerous light. The child is safe for now, but this little reunion might have consequences. Ella, lost in her own pleading terror, didn't understand the depth of his words. I could see it in her eyes, the desperation clashing with innocence as she struggled to comprehend the world suddenly turned upside down. Riley! She cried, reaching out toward me, her small frame trembling against the overwhelming chaos. In that instant, the weight of what I had faced in my past crashed down upon me. Lucas had always been twisted, a puppet master pulling at strings I never knew existed. But here, in the midst of rain and echoes of laughter, I recognized that his encroaching darkness didn't have to envelop my little beacon of hope. No. I screamed, rallying against the tempest that threatened to swallow us whole. With each step I took, adrenaline coursed through me, igniting a determination I didn't know I still possessed. Stay back, or I swear I will take her from you. Lucas snarled, and for a moment I wavered, the fear cutting through my resolve. The last time I faced him I felt powerless, but this time I stood with something more than just myself. Do what you want with me, but not with her. I shouted, feeling strength burgeon from a place I thought was hidden. His smile faltered for a moment, surprise crossing his features before it slipped back into predatory confidence. You do realize the risk you take, don't you? By defying me, you're making this all the more entertaining. The words twisted like a knife, but amid the swirling chaos, a piece of hope flickered within me. There was still light in this darkness, and it was time to embrace it. Ella, listen to me. I shouted, my heart pulsing with motherly instinct. You're stronger than you know. Run toward the trees, don't hesitate. It'll come for you. In that moment, as the rain drummed against our bodies, a glimmer of comprehension broke through Ella's fear-clouded gaze. Without waiting for another command, she turned and sprinted toward the cover of the trees, kite flailing behind her like a banner of courage. Stop her! Lucas thundered, fury igniting his voice. Time slowed, and I felt a rush of raw emotion surge within me. For the first time in years I wasn't just running. I was standing, I was fighting, I was protecting. Get away from her! I yelled, throwing myself forward, determined to defy every dark shadow and figure that loomed over us. Ellis' movements were a blur beside me, his body positioned to shield me as I surged toward Ella, who was now darting through the trunks of the trees, her small form fading into the verdant safety. The storm roared, intertwining with my heart, every drop feeling like a reminder of what was at stake. Riley! A new voice pierced through the chaos, bringing an unexpected jolt to my bones. I turned, and there stood a new figure, one I hadn't anticipated. In the dim light of the storm, drenched yet resolute, my older brother Noah emerged, his jaw set in determination etched in his features. What are you doing here? I exclaimed, a thousand questions swirling as he rushed toward me. He looked between me and Lucas' men, and there was a flicker of understanding that ignited in his eyes. I found out. We need to leave this place now, together. But as the realization settled, so did dread. The scene before me unfurled into a tangled web of loyalties, and just as I was about to reply, the ground shook beneath us and Lucas roared, and suddenly the bond of the past threatened to shatter all the hopes I had gathered. A flash of lightning struck, illuminating the yard, stark and clear, and in that blinding moment, I saw the truth. Balance lingered on the edge of calamity. Run! I choked out, fear and fury blending, knowing deep within that the storm was only just beginning. And with that, the world spiraled into chaos. Just as Noah and I locked eyes, the world narrowed down to the rain drenching our faces and the thundering roars echoing through the stormy atmosphere. The glimmer in Lucas' eyes mutated into something darker, more feral, as he recognized that the tides were shifting. "Look who decided to crawl back into the light," Lucas sneered, dismissing Noah's presence with a wave of his hand, his focus remaining on me. "I would have thought family loyalty was stronger than fear, Riley." "Noah, go," I shouted, glancing at my brother, urgency driving each word. "Get Ella somewhere safe." My heart raced, fear clawing at my throat as I realized how exposed we all were. But Noah held his ground, his unwavering loyalty sparking both hope and fear. "Not without you. We're in this together. Not without Ella," I cried, desperation coloring my voice as anxiety twisted my stomach into knots. Every moment felt like an eternity, and in that span Lucas' men tightened their circle. "Time's up, ladies," Lucas taunted, taking a step forward, and I felt ice settle beneath my skin. "When did you think you would get the chance to play hero? Let's turn up the hatred, shall we?" With a sudden shift, he snapped his fingers and chaos erupted as his men advanced swiftly towards us, a tidal wave of frustration, resentment, and incomplete memories crashing before us. Eli, still beside me, sprang into action, trying to put himself between us and Lucas' advancing crew. "Just get them out of here," he shouted, his voice steady but carrying an undercurrent of panic, as if the storm itself responded. The winds howled and raindrops fell like bullets around us. In that stormy haze, small moments of clarity sparked within the chaos. I noticed a pair of footsteps flanking Lucas, a flicker of hesitation woven between their determined expressions. "Cease!" A voice broke through, clear and demanding. The tension snapping around us. From the shadows emerged a figure I had never anticipated, a woman veiled in the storm who had seemingly materialized from nowhere, her determination slicing through the overwhelming dread. She stepped forward into the light, revealing familiar features that mirrored my own. "Enough, Lucas!" Her voice resonated with strength, an anchor in the vicious winds. "Mara!" I gasped, stunned to find my estranged mother facing the very manifestation of our tumultuous past. The woman who once cast me aside now stood firmly against the very darkness she had helped to enable. "This is your fault." Lucas' rage amplified, and the storm around us seemed to recoil in response to his fury. "You think you can just come here and play the savior?" Sickening. Mara didn't blink, her gaze unyielding, a rare resilience emanating from her. "You've manipulated enough lives. I won't let you take another," she declared, repelling not only Lucas' anger, but also the very shadows of our family's legacy that loomed over us. Breathless, I turned back to Noah, and our eyes intertwined in understanding. In that swirl of chaos, there we stood, 3 generations caught in the storm of emotional tumult. "What are we doing?" I urged, desperation tinged with hope. "Noah, shield Riley," Eli commanded, shifting into a position that paved a way for our escape. Just as the tension mounted, a burst of movement broke out as I reeled against the storm. "Ella!" I screamed, though my voice barely breached the wind's howls. Worry clawed at my heart as I scanned the trees surrounding us for her small figure. Lucas' gaze snapped back to me, a wild grin carved across his face as if he had won the very war brewing within our hearts. "You think you're capable of saving her? She's already in the thrall of destiny." Every fiber of my being screamed as if he had delivered the final blow. Visions flashed through my mind, a kaleidoscope of memories filled with laughter and warmth, marred by the twisted threads that Lucas wove. But I couldn't falter, not now, not when hope flickered like a potent flame, urging me to control my destiny. I opened my mouth to counteract his threat, but silence claimed my words. The storm intensified, crashing down around us as I forced myself to appear resolute like a lighthouse amidst an unforgiving sea. But panic laced through my breaths as I kept searching for Ella. I needed to find her before shadows cloaked the light around her. Just as desperation clutched at my throat, a child's scream pierced the stormy air, a sound that struck with the profundity of a lightning bolt. I turned toward the trees and saw a flicker of Rita, flash of Ella's kite twisting and turning, almost dashing toward the sky. Panic surged anew, and suddenly it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about Ella, trapped between two lives, the one she dreamed of and the one dictated by betrayal. "No, Amara, come with me," I shouted, urgency underpinning every syllable as I darted toward the faded colors of flight, and then, with a surge of hope mingled with despair, I screamed, "Ella! I'm coming, baby! Don't move!" Thunder rolled as I raced through the rain, and behind me, I could hear the ensuing chaos, transforming men arguing, fists flying, a realm of blurred loyalties collapsing into the storm. The truth of that moment carved itself sharply into my heart. We were at the edge, tangled in threads of fate, and only the fight would determine which side we would fall. As I plunged deeper into the tempest, the world spun out of control, leaving the echo of my determined heart against the wild roars of the storm behind me. Each second felt monumental, weighted with consequence, as I lunged toward the source of Ella's cry, toward the one light that could still reignite everything I had ever lost. Time slowed and the world spun into darkness, but with the call of my heart guiding me, I resolved that I would not falter, and then, I stumbled upon a heart-wrenching sight. Ella, caught between the chaos and fear, her small frame dwarfed, staring wide-eyed into shadows that devoured hope. My heart fractured as a new realization washed over me like a wave of ice. Lucas had already attained another soul to manipulate, so I reached for her. A new voice echoed through the storm, a simple, gentle whisper that resonated against my heart, ripping me from the depths of dread. "Help is coming. But would it be in time?" A deafening roar erupted from behind me, drowning out Ella's fearful whimpers as I surged through the trees. My heart raced, each beat a desperate plea to reach her in time. The rain poured relentlessly, blurring my vision, but I pressed on, driven by the urgency of a tether that only a sister could comprehend. "Ella, I'm right here," I called, lunging toward her, my arms stretching out as though they could bridge the chasm of fear that threatened to swallow her. The chaos floated somewhere behind me, but here in this moment, it was just a bond forged through laughter, secrets, and love. Moments passed like hours, and then I saw Hera, flash of red in the storm's tumult. Her small body crumpled at the base of a tree, hidden beneath its gnarled branches. The sight turned my blood to ice. "Ella!" I screamed again, desperation clawing at my throat. As I reached her, my breath hitched at the sight of her fear-stricken face, tears mixing with rain. "Please, baby, say something." But Ella's wide eyes were glued to the darkness creeping toward us, and a chilling dread seeped through my veins. "Riley, I can't, they're coming." Her voice trembled, quaking like fragile leaves in a storm. A fierce wind howled, and I knew I had to shield her. It was as if the universe itself had decided to bear witness, drawing the lines of fate tightly around us. Lucas's laughter sliced through the air like a knife, a cruel reminder of what I faced, me mother's past colliding with the fractured present, each moment a nexus that could rip apart everything I cherished. "Stay behind me, okay?" I said, positioning myself between Ella and the encroaching shadows. I couldn't let them win. My hands shook slightly, but within me surged a wave of protective fury, igniting a fire I believed extinguished. "Whatever happens, I won't let them take you from my periphery." I noticed a glimmer of movement, Noah and Eli circling closer, their expressions resolute despite the tempest. They were here, I wasn't alone. "Riley!" Noah's voice broke through the storm, and I turned to see him fighting against the current with a determination that ignited hope. "We're coming." His words looked almost physical in the midst of the chaos, a lifeline I could tether onto. But Lucas was relentless. "Ah, siblings reunited," he called mockingly, as if it were a cruel game. "How touching. But you're too late." "Shut up," I shouted, the scream ripping itself from my throat. "I won't let you hurt anyone else." Such fierce resolve, Riley. Lucas' eyes gleamed with a dark amusement, his followers forming a sinister line behind him. "But love is a weakness. And I am the master of exploitation." The shadows grew thicker, pulses of anxiety rippling through me. "I won't let you control her. You've ruined enough lives." I took a step forward, grounding myself in my decision. There was no backing down now. The winds whipped around us, nearly toppling Ella, and instinctively, I wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close, trying to dismiss the fear that hung in the air. It was a battle for survival, but a weaving thread of hope sparked within me. Unexpectedly, Mara's voice pierced through the storm, still unwavering in her stance against Lucas. "You've forgotten a crucial detail, son," she called, her gaze steady as she drew strength from the chaos surrounding us. Kindness can carve space in the darkest hearts. The moment she said it, a soldier from Lucas' ranks hesitated, appearing bewildered, caught between the duality of loyalty and the compelling force of compassion. It was a breathtaking sight amidst the turmoil, a hint of humanity flickering where none should remain. Ella took my hand and squeezed it, anchoring me back to my purpose. Love could ignite courage. Riley, what do we do? She whispered, and her innocent question pierced me through like an arrow. My heart beat steadily in time with hers, a rhythm of unyielding girlhood courage. Look for a way out, I murmured, desperately searching our surroundings while keeping Lucas' henchmen in sight. We need to move now. Before either of us could act, thunder crashed overhead, a deeper rumble than I had ever felt, shaking the earth beneath us. Suddenly, instinct kicked in, and I pointed toward a thicket ahead, dense branches that could shield us from sight. There. Let's go. With Ella pressed close to me, our hearts pounding in sync, we darted into the thicket, praying for shelter, praying for safety. I led her between the heavy, dripping branches, trying to mask our escape with every ounce of strength I could muster. Ella, stay close, I whispered urgently, feeling the weight of the storm and the shadows trailing behind us. But abruptly, a sharp cry broke through the patter of rain. The soldier who had faltered ahead was struck down, yelling in anguish as Lucas roared in triumph. You see? Kindness is a tool for traitors. You will all fall. Ella gasped, the sound mingling with the storm, a note of pure terror that drove me forward. We pushed deeper into the thicket, the branches clawing at our clothes as we tried to navigate through. And just when I thought we might have found a momentary reprieve, I felt a tremor in the ground, the ominous rumble of something much larger than us approaching. Closer and closer, the air thickening as I heard Lucas taunt in the distance. You will pay for this disloyalty. You'll see the costs of your kindness. Hope was fragile, but it flickered in my chest like a forgotten melody, reminding me of love's most persistent power, resilience. But as I turned back to Ella, the fear in her eyes mirrored my growing dread. That was when my phone buzzed in my pocket, jolting me sharply from my thoughts. I fished it out, my heart racing now. But it lit up with an unknown incoming call. Riley, who is it? Ella asked, her small voice tremulous against the growing chaos. It was a number I didn't recognize, but something within me urged me to answer. I held the phone up and pressed the button, trembling as I answered a voice that might change everything. As it came through, the voice on the other end whispered urgently, Riley, don't hang up. I have vital information. Ella's in danger. The words clung to the air, heavy with uncertainty, and as I glanced back toward the chaos, a new realization slammed into me. Time wasn't just slipping away. It was unraveling. Ella, I'm not sure what to do, I murmured, my heart and mind racing as hope and despair danced around us. And in that breath-held pause, I realized, what if the very kindness that held us together became the weapon that would tear the threads of our fates apart? As the distant thunder rumbled, I knew then that my choice wouldn't be easy, and I had no idea where this storm would lead or if we would even survive it. The wind howled like a siren, its chilling cries intertwining with the weight of the moment. I clutched the phone tighter, my knuckles whitening as I struggled to process the urgency of the voice on the other end. What do you mean she's in danger? I rasped, pulling Ella closer to me, my heart racing with every pressing beat. Listen carefully, the voice said, low and strained, almost lost beneath the tempest. You're being watched. Lucas knows more than you think. He's manipulating the situation to draw you out. Ella's not just the punches, a key? I whispered, disbelief mingling with confusion. My mind spiraled with possibilities, dark threads of apprehension winding tighter around my thoughts. Yes, you have to get her to safety, in a place he doesn't expect. Trust your instincts, Riley. The kindness you show now, it's more powerful than you realize. The line crackled, and the connection faltered for just a heartbeat. Wait, who are you? I called out, but all I got in return was silence. I turned to Ella, who was trembling beneath the storm's roar, her small frame quivering with fear. Okay, baby, we have to move fast, I managed to say, masking the storm brewing inside me. We need to find a place he wouldn't think to look. She nodded, eyes wide, though the terror reflected in her gaze mirrored my own uncertainty. As I brushed rain-soaked hair from her forehead, I felt the boundaries of my own courage begin to blur. Let's go, I urged, taking a deep breath. We need to find shelter and think. Dodging through the thicket, I tried to block out the cacophony around us. Thunder crashed overhead, shaking the ground beneath my feet and echoing the turmoil raging within. The cries of Lucas echoed faintly behind, fueled by manic laughter and taunts. The danger was as palpable as the raindrops splattering against my skin. "Riley, where are we going?" Ella asked, her voice a fragile whisper. I scanned the environment, adrenaline coursing through my veins. All of this felt so familiar, the trees, the rain blending with heartbreak yet dangerously foreign. Then I remembered the old barn, hidden at the edge of the property, shrouded by overgrown brush. "This way!" I shouted, trusting my instincts as I tugged Ella along as we neared the barn. The storm raged around us, but the structure loomed ahead like a sanctuary from the chaos. "We'll be safe inside," I reassured Ella, even as doubt crept into my heart. Once we made it through the door, the smell of damp wood surrounded us, and a sense of relief fluttered in my chest, yet it was fleeting. Peering through the gaps in the old rotting boards, I sensed movement outside. "How did they find us?" I murmured, panic flooding my thoughts as I turned to Ella. Her expression was a canvas of worry, as if drawn in the very colors of the storm. "I don't know," she whimpered, gripping my hand tightly as the world outside felt suffocating, every noise amplified by the proximity of danger. "What do we do now?" I bit my lip, forcing myself to think beyond the fear. "There must be something we can use," I said, scanning the barn. Old tools lay scattered, broken machinery pushed aside in cobwebs. There had to be something useful, something to protect us, or to help us fight back. Suddenly, I heard it, garbled murmurs drifting closer, familiar voices layered beneath the storm's roar. "They're here," I breathed, my heart racing anew, terror wrapping around my throat. The sound of footsteps splashing through puddles filled me with dread. Lucas' laughter echoed, cruel and taunting, a chilling reminder of the game being played. "Ella, hide!" I urged, pushing her behind an overturned crate. I crouched beside her, my heart pounding in time with the distant thud of approaching footsteps. "Whatever happens, don't come out until I say." "Riley, please don't leave me," she whispered, her wide eyes glistening with tears that threatened to break free. "I won't. Just trust me." I pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, grounding us both in that moment of love amidst fear. As I peered through the cracks, a group of silhouettes gathered outside, their shapes twisted by shadows, menacing in the glow of the flashes of lighting. They were searching. Lucas was instructing them, his voice like an omen. "Split up. She has to be around here somewhere." My heart sank as I realized that with each passing second, our chances of escape dwindled. "Do they know we're in here?" I thought, wrestling with horror and desperation. And then abruptly everything changed. A figure broke away from the pack, moving towards the barn. Hope flickered within me, but it was quickly swallowed by dread as familiarity struck. "No, please, it couldn't be." To my utter disbelief, Noah stepped into view, drenched and desperate. "Riley! Ella!" he shouted, panic lacing his voice as he spotted us hiding. "No, Noah! Get back! It's a trap!" I cried, feeling a surge of horror at the precariousness of the situation. I bolted toward the door, torn between wanting to protect Ella and the need to save Noah from Lucas' grasp. But then the storm shifted. With a violent crack, the barn door burst open, rain crashing inside, and amidst the howling winds Lucas appeared, flanked by his henchmen. Their eyes gleamed in malice as Lucas smirked, locking his gaze on me. "Erase the catch, Riley. A moment of kindness can lead to chaos, and you are about to experience just that." And with those wicked words hanging heavy in the air, the storm surged around us, but it was the unexpected clarity staring deep into my soul that truly began to tear down the fragile barriers I had built. This was not just a battle for survival. It was a battle for everything I loved. As Noah shouted my name again, desperation etched in his features, uncertainty turned to resolve within me. I had to protect Ella not just from the storm, but from the very heart of betrayal itself. And in that twisted whirlpool of kindness and chaos, I realized something that would forever change our course. With the stakes rising higher than I had ever anticipated, I knew deep down, the choices I'd made were not leading me to an escape but toward an explosion of truth, unveiling secrets that threatened to shatter our fragile world. The tension hung thick in the air as Lucas strutted into the barn, the storm crashing around us like nature's own battle cry. Thunder rumbled, almost in response to his presence, and I felt myself teetering on the edge of clarity and despair. Every moment felt like a flash in time, each heartbeat reverberating with the weight of what was at stake. "Let's play a little game, shall we?" Lucas taunted, his voice drenching the room in a layer of contempt. "I'll give you a choice. Your precious little sister or your self-righteous courage. Which one will you cling to when the storm hits full force?" "Don't you dare touch her," I shouted, every ounce of defiance rising within me as I clutched my fists, willing my heart to remain steady amidst this chaos. I glanced toward Noah and saw the fierce protectiveness blazing in his eyes, that familial bond surging forth like a shield against the darkness. "Oh, but that's where you're wrong," Lucas replied, his smirk stretching impossibly wide, concealing the monster lurking behind his charm. "Your courage won't save you, and it certainly won't save her. You're all too invested in this little fairy tale of kindness. But sometimes it's the very kindness you show others that becomes the knife in your own back." With that, he turned abruptly, issuing orders to his henchmen, and my heart clenched in fear. I couldn't be a bystander any longer, not for myself or for Ella. "We have to get her out of here," I whispered urgently to Noah. The storm was a metaphor for everything we had faced. Every swirling conflict had led us here, and every moment of kindness I had ever shown now felt like a flashpoint of consequence. "On three, we charge," Noah replied with a steady certainty that anchored me. "We get her out." As Lucas' men fanned out around the barn, searching, I took a breath, weighing the truth I had just grasped. Kindness was not merely an act. It was the courage to stand firm against the darkness trying to engulf us. "Ella," I called softly, urgency weaving through my words. "We're coming for you." And in that moment something miraculous happened. Ella's small voice rose from behind the crate. "Riley, please hurry." The moment felt suspended in time, where everything swirled around us: rage, fear, love, hope, all colliding in a perfect storm. Holding on to each other, we bolted forward, each of us channeling a fragment of the fierce power we had derived from kindness over the years. Lucas and his gang turned as one, surprise momentarily flickering across their faces. "Now," I shouted, and we surged forward, a united front pushed by the adrenaline of survival and the promise of protection. As if sensing the shift, Lucas roared in frustration, fury ricocheting through the barn, his anger igniting the air. "Get them!" he bellowed, the command spilling from his lips as fear transformed into primal rage. Noah and I ran for Ella, our hearts synchronized in determination, but the shadows lunged towards us, hands reaching as if to grasp our souls. I barreled through the dark figures, my body propelled by a singular thought: protect Ella, no matter the cost. And then I felt Ida hand grabbing my arm, yanking me back. I spun around, only to meet the icy gaze of one of Lucas' henchmen. "Where do you think you're going?" he sneered, his grip strong. Before I could react, another figure lunged and landed a swift blow, sending me crashing to the ground. The air rushed from my lungs, and I struggled to breathe as chaos erupted around Meth Storm outside, a mirror of the tumult within. "No!" I shouted, scrambling to my feet, eyes darting for Noah and Ella. With a surge of defiance, I pushed through, feeling the surge of loyalty and love weave through the storm. "You won't take her." In that very moment, just as I fought through the tumult, something deep within me began to unfurl. The echo of every kind word shared, every connection forged in love, awakened a strength that pulsed like the thunder above. With renewed ferocity, I turned back to face the henchman, my rage fueled not just by fear, but by the kindness I had both given and received, and I shoved him aside, watching as he teetered and fell. "Ella! Noah!" I cried out desperately, scrambling toward the jagged entrance of the barn, a visceral need to protect overwhelming me. But as I neared the doorway, there was Lucas looming in the entrance, his eyes gleaming like a predator satisfied by the chase. "You really think loyalty can save you?" he rasped, stepping toward me, blocking my path. "Kindness? It's a foolish notion to believe in such naivete. Adventuring through storms will only get you wet, Riley." "Maybe," I countered, staring defiance straight back at him, "but I would rather fight for those I love than hide in shadows." A flicker of surprise crossed his face, yet it was quickly replaced with malice. "Foolish girl." His voice thundered, echoing through the barn, fueled by a man high on his own power. But then, just as hope seemed to shatter, an unexpected twist surged through the chaos. A silhouette emerged from behind Lucas, one that struck me through to my core, sending a flood of warmth into the whirlwind of shadows. My mother Mary stood tall and resolute, facing Lucas head-on, an embodiment of strength against the storm. "You have no hold over her," she declared, her voice resounding within the bitter air, cutting through the tide of chaos that had swallowed us whole. "What are you?" Lucas began, and in that instant the darkness recoiled before her light. It was as if the storm itself hesitated, waiting to see how this confrontation would unfold. "She's my daughter," Mara asserted fiercely, a strange power thrumming through her words that I had never seen before. "You've twisted enough lives to think you can manipulate this one. You will not win today." It was as if every unspoken yearning between us surged forth love, forgiveness, understanding, and suddenly it became clear. The past didn't have to define us. We didn't need to hide behind the scars of betrayals, nor the weight of the decisions we had made. Together, united in the name of all we loved, we would fight not just for ourselves, but for each other. Turning to Ella, who clutched Noah's hand, I felt a fierce sense of clarity wash over me. "We need to stand together," I shouted, rallying my strength and the unyielding connection that built every thread of our lives. And as the battle ignited around us, with thunder crashing above and rain drenching our spirits, I felt the tides shift. The world turned upside down as a fight erupted in the shadows. Lucas' men lunged forward, but everything shifted in a moment. Noah and Mara stepping back with fierce resolve, shielding Ella from the impending chaos. "Run!" I shouted, knowing that the storm would only grow stronger, but together we could weather it. In that moment, our spirits intertwined, becoming an unbreakable chain forged through love and kindness. And as I watched Ella sprint towards safety, I felt a surge of hope swell within me, a bond stronger than any darkness that dared to threaten our light. Noah followed, then Mara and I, pushing forth against the tide of chaos, hearts ablaze with courage. And just as I thought we had broken free from the storm, I felt Lucas reach out one last time, that dark flicker of fear across his face morphing into something raw, a snake caught in a corner. But as I turned back, my heart racing, I realized that the true power resided not within the storm, but within the love we held fiercely for one another. A storm may cloud the skies, but together we could reshape the world. With all our strength igniting like fire in the rain, we collided with the shadows, a force moving forward, battling fear with kindness. Together we'd chase away the darkness that sought to pull us apart, weaving together the threads of our destinies as one. Kindness was our strength, and ultimately, love would lead us into the light. No longer a battle for my sister or myself, it was a standing ovation for all that had come before. Every decision painted in shades of kindness, love, and sacrifice. As Lucas fell back, and the weight of the storm rattled behind us, I turned to my remaining family, feeling the flicker of hope propel us toward the horizon. And then it hit me, realization that we were more than just survivors in a storm. We were the architects of our fate. With one final breath, I took my brother's hand, Ella's smaller one clutched securely against my side, and Mara stood tall beside us. Shadows bearing down would not claim this light. Together, we would dismantle the dark. Together we would chase the storm away. As the skies began to clear, and tendrils of sunlight broke through, illuminating our path, I breathed deep and smiled, knowing that this is not just the end of the storm, but the beginning of everything. Because sometimes from the depths of chaos comes the most beautiful tapestry of hope, shining bright amidst the shadows. And amidst all that remained, I couldn't help but whisper, "This is where we rise."